What's going on, everybody? You probably know the drill by now. It's another used bike review at Triumph San Diego, and today I get to review a bike I've wanted to ride for a really long time. It is the Speed Triple. I own a street triple. I thought about getting a speed triple. I've always been a fan of big bore 3-cylinder engines. I had the FC09, so this has been on my short list of bikes to ride for quite some time, so I'm really stoked to finally throw my leg over one. This is a 2006, and it only has 3,000 miles on it. So whoever owned this before, it was a garage queen. It's the only way you get 30,000 miles on a bike that's actually over 10 years old now, which is crazy. It's actually a 13-year-old motorcycle. To me, it seems just like yesterday that these bikes came out. So let's take a look at the bike and just jump on it. For some, this is the ultimate speed triple because of these headlights. These are the bug eye headlights. It's a classic Triumph look. I mean, there's really not much to say about it other than that. This motorcycle is really got a good track record. It's got the 1050cc 3-cylinder engine. It's got a bunch of torque. It makes about 128 horsepower, which is similar to what my brand new street triple makes, but with a bigger bore motor, like I said, more torque. So this is probably going to be a much more tractable motor around the city. Nissan calipers, it's pretty standard for Triumphs from this era. This has the factory exhaust on it. One of the biggest appeals of the Speed Triple, the single-sided swing arm. It just looks gorgeous. This bike is in really good shape too. It's got the cowl for the rear seat. I love the pearl white. The blue Triumph logos look great. I mean, this bike's brand new. It really does look brand new. With only 3,000 miles on it, it sure as heck hasn't done much, and it's basically been broken in. And this bike is going for, let's take a look here, $6,225. Really good deal. You know, if you can't afford the brand new Speed Triple RS, which is a pretty expensive bike, this is a really good alternative, especially being used. And with this few miles on it, you could buy one of these and ride it for another 10 years easy and not really have any problems. This bike also has a set of Michelin Pilot Powers, really good tire. It's a period correct tire, I would say. There's definitely grippier tires these days, but this will get the job done for the street. And to me, when I look at this bike, this is a street bike. You want the thoroughbred race bike, you're looking at the Daytona or, you know, the new Street Triple RS or something like that, if that's your cup of tea. But to me, having a big motor, it really has a lot of advantages. So let's just stop talking about it and just get on this bike.
First impressions are always important, and the first thing I noticed getting on this bike is how much torque it has off idle, because compared to the Street Triple that I own, you cannot just ease the clutch out away from a light and get going. You'll just stall the bike out. And the FC09, complete opposite. I mean, you could just sit there with it and feather the clutch in traffic and never have to touch the gas. So I like that a lot. I'd say that's probably actually my biggest complaint about the Street Triple, but it's not a huge deal. It's just one of those things after you ride a big bore motorcycle, it's hard to it's kind of hard to go back the other way, if you ask me. I say this a lot in my reviews, but a good motorcycle is easy to get a feel for right away. You're not going to have this really big lag time trying to adapt to how it feels. Like, this feels very natural, and you'll hear that in reviews a lot too, but this is one of those bikes you hop on and it feels like you expect a motorcycle of this caliber to feel. So the rider triangle is just a touch more relaxed, and you have a little bit more legroom, and you're not quite as far hunched forward on it like a sport bike. It's a good blend. Would this lend itself well to being ridden on track? Yes, to a certain pace, but you know, again, I said this earlier, if you're looking at a track bike, you're looking at something different. This is a naked bike that has over 1,000 cc's. This is the environment you ride it in. Or at least that's where it's best, I should say. I don't like only having one mirror. That's something I'm gonna ding this bike for big time, because I like bar and mirrors, but I like having two. Just one, it's a little sketchy. That'd be the first thing I do if I bought this bike, put another bar end on. Now, I might be a Triumph fanboy, but you can feel the heritage and the lineage in this bike compared to my Street Triple. It's really cool. I mean, the DNA is there. You can feel a lot of the same stuff. this is just a much more raw bike. And that gets thrown around a lot, but it feels much more analog than my bike. I must be getting old because I like the stock exhaust on this just fine. I don't think I would change it. It sounds good. You know, it's got the nice intake noise just like you'd expect from a 3-cylinder, and being a bigger bore 3-cylinder, the exhaust note overall is a lot deeper than the street triple, which is to be expected, but it feels so good at these low speeds. It's very easy to balance on. That's, you know, a point I harp on a lot with bikes, but I think it's really important. If you can't balance on it easily at low speed, it'll never give you the confidence to pull off the U-turns and all of those parking lot maneuvers, which when you're living with a bike and if you commute, you better get good at or have a bike that makes it easy to be good at. Otherwise, you'll hate life. And being a 1050, it also has really strong engine braking. That's a love or hate type of characteristic, but I love it. One thing about this bike I think it does really well is mask its weight. It's a fairly heavy bike. I believe this is actually close to 500 pounds wet. I'd have to look at the spec sheet, but I know at the very least it's upper 400s, significantly heavier than a street triple. And I expected this to just feel heavy in hand and when you ride it. And that to me just kind of always drives home. The numbers really don't mean much of anything unless you just experience the machine, because I've seen that with cars plenty. My 86 I think is a great example. It's a car that, you know, on paper a lot of people would find boring, and you know, some people do find it quote-unquote boring to drive, but the reality is for what I use it for, it's quite perfect. And this bike, I just can't believe how light it feels. You know, it's just a good job on Triumph's end for engineering a bike that does well in its intended environment, and we're just putting around. Oh, the gas light came on. Is this going to be a reenactment of Seinfeld where I run out of gas on the test ride? Oh boy. And the brakes, they feel really nice. Good amount of bite, not too much, not too little. They feel, you know, gosh, I hate using the same phrase over and over again trying to describe something, but they feel period correct. There are better brakes out these days, but all things considered, it wouldn't stop me from riding around on this every day. It does not have ABS or traction control or anything like that. So if that is something that you require, you're gonna have to look at a newer model of this if this is the type of bike you want. I think it's fantastic. It's great to ride an analog bike like this. It definitely makes you be in control of, you know, your destiny, so to speak. Let's pull over here, just like last time with the Ducati, and take a walk around the bike again now that we've ridden it a little bit. I love the bug eye look. It's old school, it's classic, it's retro, it's whatever you want to call it. On this bike, it just works. I know a lot of people don't like the new headlights, but I think it's a good modern interpretation of these. I just don't think these headlights work for everybody these days, unfortunately. They work for me. On this bike, it's classic. It's classic Triumph. I mean, what can I say? This feels a bit like a time capsule, I think, because of the mileage. It's such a new bike still. I mean, it has 3,200 miles. It's brand new. I mean, this is ready for somebody to just pile the miles on. It's unfortunate the previous owner didn't enjoy it more. That's the only thing I can say about it. The engine casing, it all looks like it's holding up well. There's no like weird flaking going on like some bikes. Yeah, this thing is just rock solid. And it's stock, which is cool. I like modified toys, but I enjoy a OEM engineered machine that just works and you don't have to muck with too much. I have cars to do that with, so if you're into modifying bikes, go for it. It's fun no matter what, but it's great. I mean, this thing is just flawless. Absolutely flawless. I think my only complaint is one bar and mirror. That's the only thing I can come up with. Other than that, I mean, this bike just it rocks. It's cool looking. Sounds great. I think it has a lot of sex appeal. It's a Triumph Speed Triple. If you're looking at one, go ride one and go get one. It's got a lot of heart, soul, and character. If I had to compare this to one bike, it actually reminds me of the FC09 a lot, except it's better in every way. The suspension is far superior to that. You could just ride around on this all day long. I wouldn't change out the stock forks or the shock. There's no need. It's perfectly adequate for cruising around and hitting, you know, some twisty roads on the weekend, that sort of thing. I wouldn't see a need to replace it. The exhaust, these are big cans. I think if you had a pillion, this would get annoying, but you know, this has the speed cowl, or the seat cowl, whatever you want to call it. That's great. Yeah, this is just an awesome bike. I just really want to ride it more. I wish I could give you a lot more insight on this, but I mean, this bike is awesome. It's such a competent machine that what else would you need? Is kind of the question I ask. This is the perfect bike to get. So you can just create your own adventure in life and have a rad time on two wheels. That's what it's all about, really, and this does it for me. So let's get on this bike and ride it some more. One thing I just noticed is it does not have a gas gauge. I have gotten quite accustomed to that, and I was just telling a story to a friend today, actually, about my DRZ. I used to run out of gas all the time on that because it didn't have a gas gauge, and sometimes I felt like that guy ran out of gas way too early. But bikes really aren't about fuel mileage for me. They are about how many smiles I can get per gallon. So if that's what you're looking at a bike for, I mean, that's cool, but I just like having fun. This just makes me think about the new Speed Triple, and can't imagine what this bike, which is already competent, fun, great to ride, and you throw all the modern upgrades at it. That's got to be quite a machine too. And this has enough power to get you in trouble awful quick. This is not a beginner's motorcycle. I love this motor. It's so meaty in the mid-range. It feels just right. It's not too aggressive. I would actually say the FC09 feels like it's going to accelerate faster. That motor in particular spins up fast. This doesn't have that same kind of just brutal mid-range down low. I like this better because it's a little bit more relaxed. I don't feel like I'm on edge and the bike is just constantly going, okay, more. Even my Street Triple feels very high strung in comparison. When you ride that bike, it's always like, well, what are you gonna do? You gonna do more? You gonna give it more throttle? Let's do it. This is a great blend, and it's good for the street because it feels relaxed, but it's still very sporty. And you can be lazy about riding it. Just leave it in third or fourth gear in the twisties and don't shift. Just ride that torque wave. On that same note, it doesn't feel like you need to wind it out to get everything out of it. And I think that's a really good thing for the street. You can enjoy it. It's not a bike that you got to take to the racetrack to enjoy. I like it. I dig it. I mean, I'm a Triumph fanboy. I'll say it right now. So some of you might think this review is pretty biased, but it's the truth. This is just an awesome motorcycle. There's a reason why this has won so many tests and reviews, and I think this is a bit of a hidden gem in terms of used bikes. I mean, $6 grand for a bike with 3,000 miles is a great deal. In fact, I'd buy this before I bought another FC09. There's no reason to buy an FC09 when you can get something like this for this kind of money and you know, this kind of pedigree. Not that Yamaha makes a bad bike, but I think that Triumph they have that special sauce that when you ride a bike, sometimes you just gotta have. Oh, this motor's a sweetheart. That right there is why I like torque. Coming up to a car, I don't like sitting in that blind spot. This gives me the ability to just squirt on by and not do it in a in an unsafe manner. It just lets you roll on past that car and move on. It's a good deal. All the chrome on this looks like it's brand new too. This kind of stuff will pit if it's left outside. So if you're looking to buy one of these used, and make sure to take a look at that kind of thing, because if the headlights and the handlebar all pitted up, and same with the engine, that means that bike's been left outside a lot. And it's not that I wouldn't buy it, but I would be more cautious about any bike that's been left outside. You don't really want to do that if you don't have to. I think I take back what I said about the stock exhaust. I like it, but the Aero, the factory Aero, would probably be just right. Once you get past that low end, you get to the mid-range, it sounds a little muted and kind of choked down. I bet the Aero and a ECU remap would wake this up even more. Not that it needs it, but I think the sound and the top end could be a little bit more punchy, if I'm just nitpicking, because I really have to nitpick about this bike. It's gosh darn good, and I just hope I can make it back to the dealer and not run out of gas. That would be nice. It'd be really nice. And one other little note I guess I'd make about this bike, being a big displacement bike, that also I think aids it at low speed stuff, because it inherently is just, it naturally balances itself because the rotational mass of the engine. And if you've never ridden a big bore bike, I think you'll notice it right away, especially if you come off like a 600 or, you know, even a 250 or, you know, like a SV650, hop on something like this, and to me it's a night and day difference. You can just feel that extra engine working for you. But in this case, I don't think it's a big detriment. Wind blast isn't too bad. It's a naked bike. If you're worried about wind blasts and you're buying a naked bike, you're buying the wrong bike. That's all there is to it. That's what sport touring bikes exist for. The fueling is nice and smooth when you come off the gas and you just ease right back onto it with your hand gently. It's very, very nice and smooth. Triumph's always been known for that. They've always had buttery smooth fueling, and this is no different. And as always, if you are interested in this motorcycle, it is available for purchase down at Triumph San Diego. Just talk to Jeff. He'll take care of you. Let him know I sent you, and you could be riding this. This is a sweet bike. It's a bit of a time capsule, and that's how I like buying my used bikes. Lightly loved, and then I just go ahead and take them and make many good adventures with them. Well, as always, thank you for joining me. If you want to watch any of my other videos, go ahead and check out the playlists, and thanks for watching. What can I say? I had fun doing this, and I hope you had fun watching it, and I'll catch you out there. Till the next time.